Hi everyone, it's Mark. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about property managers. Now in the last video I talked a little bit about the current project that a partner and I are working on, and at the end I explained that one of the big problems we had was that we hired a property inspector who was a friend of my partner but not a professional commercial inspector, and the problems that caused. Today I'm going to delve a little deeper into what other problems that caused, because unfortunately we didn't learn the lesson about hiring professionals who weren't necessarily our friends before we started looking for property managers. So I'm going to unpack that a little bit and go into detail into the trials and tribulations we had of 3 years worth of property managers. First, if you could do me a favor and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, it would really mean a lot to me. And now let's get started. As I said, we had bought the property, and the one good decision we made right off the bat is that we knew we couldn't manage it ourselves. We needed someone else to handle it. We both had full-time jobs. It was a big enough property that we couldn't just handle it on the side. So what we did was, my partner had a colleague that he worked with in his office who was willing to take on the property. Of course, she had no property management experience, but we were going to put her in the property and give her free rent. In exchange for that, she would collect the rents, she would show vacant units to the tenants. She also had a boyfriend who lived with her who would do some of the minor maintenance. For the big issues like HVAC units that had to be replaced, boilers, air conditioning units, or big plumbing problems, or roofing, we would call out a professional, of course. So to us, at first glance, this seemed like the best of all possible worlds. That we had someone on the property who would be there at night to look over the property, especially on weekends, so in case there were big problems Friday night, Saturday night, at midnight, 2 in the morning, she'd be there to take care of it and tell us what was going on. Also, we had a built-in maintenance man who would be right there to take care of the problems. The problem that we had was that neither one of these were really professionals. The woman was okay in terms of dealing with the tenants, settling tenant disputes, telling us what was happening in the property, but she had no experience in terms of marketing a property, doing the advertising, online ads, that kind of thing that a typical property manager would do. And that would become an overriding theme of all our property managers, was filling vacancies was a problem. So with her, the only vacancies we filled came from referrals from other tenants. We offered a small discount on their rent if they referred a friend or a family member, and we ultimately ended up putting them in the property. So we gradually bled out tenants over time, and then when she ended up leaving the property, all of the tenants left as well. Now, the boyfriend was even worse. He would band-aid everything. So for example, if a shower pen was rusted out, he would just caulk it up. We knew that the property needed a full paint job on the exterior, and we told him go ahead and do it. And this is the kind of sloppy work he would do. It's a 2-story building, so what does he do for the second story? He can't reach the second story, so does he get a ladder, climb up, that kind of thing? No, he just doesn't paint it. So the bottom half is painted a brand new fresh coat of paint. The upper story isn't painted at all. It would take us 2 years to fix all of the problems that he caused. The other problem was that because we had a relationship with both of them outside of the property, we were hesitant to let them go as property managers because we knew they might ultimately just leave the property. And in fact, that's what happens. So we kept them on as property managers longer than we should have, probably almost a year, and that was a mistake. But we did finally get rid of them, and then we decided we'd do what everybody does who's looking for information. we turned to the internet. At this point, we knew we wanted someone who did this as a career, someone who was doing it 9 to 5. This was their day job. It was their full-time job. And we did find someone that we really liked. We interviewed them, and to this day, they're still my favorite property manager in terms of a personal relationship. I really do like them. So we ended up hiring them. And in terms of maintenance, we were much better off. But in terms of filling the vacancies, we had the same problem. They just couldn't fill vacancies. In 6 months, they only filled one vacancy, and that turned out to be a Section 8 tenant who had a disability because of his temper and his personality that we ended up having to evict because he was offending all the other tenants. We think the problem was that their expertise was in single-family homes, not apartments. So they were used to the ease of filling single-family homes. To a large degree, single-family homes just sort of fill themselves. You put an ad out, you show the property, you take applications, and boom, you're done. There's not a whole lot of marketing, selling, hard sell, any of that thing, and they just don't take very long or much effort. So in 6 months, they only filled the one vacancy, and that just crushed our cash flow because we gradually bled out tenants as tenants would move out to buy a house, get married, get divorced, move out of town, lose their job. We would gradually become more and more vacant. So after 6 months, we had to let them go. So at this point, we've tried acquaintances, we've tried the internet. What do? Well, we thought we got smart and we went and looked for a referral. So we had an insurance broker that we used for our insurance, and I trusted him. He was a smart guy. He'd been in the neighborhood for a long time. He'd been in the industry for a while, so we asked him for a referral, and he gave us one. We also got referrals from the property manager of other people he was currently managing. He's actually the only property manager that I've met in person, not just talked to on the phone. He was in my hometown for a large property manager seminar. I went down and met him, had a great conversation. He looked very organized. He had everything together. We had a great relationship set up. So I said, let's go ahead and do it. And he did not have the same problem that the two previous property managers did. He had no problems filling vacancies. Monday through Sunday, any day of the week, any time of the month, beginning, end, middle, any time of the year, Thanksgiving, Christmas, he would put people in the property. His problem was the other side of the problem. He could not retain tenants. In 6 months, he had 48% turnover. If we had let him stay in the property a whole year, he probably would have lost every single tenant in the property. That kind of a turnover is an absolute killer because every time somebody moves out, you got to do a little work to fix the unit up and then get it rented. Then you've got a vacancy in between tenants. And in particular with this manager, he charges a leasing fee every time you put somebody in the property. So he loved this kind of turnover because every time somebody would move out, he would just fill the property up again and collect the leasing fee. And not only that, there was no time frame for which he would not collect a leasing fee. If somebody moved in on Monday and then moved out on Tuesday and he filled it on Wednesday, then boom, that's 2 leasing fees in 3 days. And yes, that's an extreme example, but he did collect multiple leasing fees for the same unit over the 6-month period when we kept him until we fired him as well. We've tried the internet, we've tried referrals, we've tried acquaintances. So we went back to the internet and we interviewed a few people and we found one that we liked and we said, okay, let's sign a property management agreement. Let's see what your fees are. They charge the standard 10% fee every month per gross rent they collected. That's fine. They collected a half month's rent when they leased a fee. That's fine. But then it got a little weird. So if there was an eviction, so a tenant they put in who didn't pay the rent, then we had to pay fees for the lawyer in the courts, and we had to pay the property manager to get rid of them. Also, anytime there was a problem with the property, a plumbing problem, an electrical problem, or we needed some landscaping done, they would call somebody out to do it. And they would charge us for making that phone call. So all this sounds like they're nickel and diming us, but it's not really nickels and dimes. To me, it's quarters and half dollars. Those fees are outrageous. But even with all of that, that's not my favorite fee that they were going to charge us. They were going to charge us a vacancy fee. So for every month that a unit is not filled, they're going to charge us a fee. So every month they don't do their job and we don't make money, they make extra money. Well, needless to say, we didn't hire that property management company. So we went on to our next one. And these people repeatedly told me they were the best property manager in the city. Over and over again. And I'll give them credit, they did do a lot of work. They certainly helped the property in terms of curb appeal. When they left the property, it was much better. They fixed the paint job from the very first property manager. They did a lot of curb appeal, but they weren't handling the details. They weren't cleaning up around the property enough. And when they did, they had a guy out there charging us $40 an hour. That works out to $86,000 a year. I told my partner that, and he goes, well, don't hire that guy, fire him, and I'll do it for $86,000 a year. And certainly he would have. The other issue is that there was no responsibility. Every time there was a problem, either they blamed it on the previous property manager, even after a year, it's still the previous property manager's problem that the curb appeal isn't there, that they can't fill the vacancies, or it's my problem. I won't let them do this, I won't let them do that. Ultimately, this complete lack of responsibility and accountability is what would doom the relationship, because I just didn't know how to help the property manager succeed. If I took a hands-off approach and just let them run the property, then we lost money every month. If I tried to micromanage and help them to know what to do and tell them what to do in every situation, then we still lost money. If I tried to get them to look at the root cause of the problem, why we were losing money, then we lost money. And if I tried to get them to look at the big picture that this is what we needed, then we lost money. So no matter what I did, it just didn't matter. And at the end of the day, the real problem was what I talked about before. They just couldn't fill vacancies. And they always had excuses why they couldn't fill vacancies. For example, we had one unit that was a bit of an odd layout. It was a 2-bedroom, but to get to the 2nd bedroom, you had to walk to the 1st bedroom. So they kept saying, well, we can't rent it at this price. And I said, then lower the price. And boom, it's rented. So why did I need to do that? And then the final straw was that we had some really nice units. We had about a half dozen that were either townhomes or they were very, very cute 2-bedroom, 2-baths, and they were downstairs. And even those units took them 6 weeks to get rented. So if every unit's going to take you 6 weeks to get rented, then during those 6 weeks, when you're trying to get that one unit rented, you're not working other units because you don't need 15 units that are rent ready. You need one that you can show. And then during that 6 weeks, people are going to move out. So then do you fix their unit or the one that you were going to fix? So you never get ahead. You're always just treading water, which means every month we were losing money. So we moved on from them, and we've had a new property manager for about 2 months now. So far, rents are up, expenses are down. We're not paying $86,000 for a guy to walk around and pick up Cheetos wrappers. I'll know more in a few months because we're getting into the slow rental season. But if we get down toward the end of spring, beginning of summer, March, April, May, then I should have a better idea. So if you're still watching, I appreciate it. This is Mark. If you haven't already hit the subscribe button, I sure would appreciate it. And I'll see you next time.